Plants are amazing. They're alive just like you and me. And just like us, they need to eat, breathe, and deal with stress. That's where plant physiology comes in. It's the study of all the amazing things that happen inside a plant. It's a bit like being a plant detective, unraveling the secrets of their inner workings. Let's start with the most important process of all, photosynthesis. Plants have a superpower. They can make their own food. They have their own solar-powered food factories right inside their leaves. This process is called photosynthesis. It all starts with sunlight. Plants capture the sun's energy using a green pigment called chlorophyll. Think of it like their secret ingredient for making food. They also need water and carbon dioxide, which they get from the air and soil. They mix all these ingredients together using the sun's energy, and voila! They create glucose, a type of sugar that gives them energy. As a bonus, they release oxygen into the air, which is pretty handy for us humans. The equation for photosynthesis is pretty simple. Sunlight plus water plus carbon dioxide equals glucose plus oxygen. It's like a magic trick. Plants pull delicious sugar out of thin air. Just like us, plants need energy to live. They need it to grow, reproduce, and even defend themselves. Where do they get this energy? From the food they make, of course. But before plants can use the energy stored in glucose, they need to convert it into a form their cells can use. This process is called respiration, and it's kind of like burning fuel. During respiration, plants break down glucose and release the energy stored inside. They do this with the help of oxygen, which is why we need to breathe. There are two types of respiration, aerobic and anaerobic. Aerobic respiration is like a slow and steady burn. It requires oxygen and releases a lot of energy. Anaerobic respiration, on the other hand, is like a quick burst of energy. It happens without oxygen but releases less energy. Plants need to stay hydrated just like us. So how do they get their water fix? Through their roots, of course. Plants absorb water from the soil through their roots. But the water doesn't just stay there. It travels up through the plant's stem and all the way to the leaves. This process is called transpiration, and it's kind of like plants sweating. As water evaporates from the leaves through tiny pores called stomata, it creates a suction force that pulls more water up from the roots. This constant flow of water is essential for transporting nutrients throughout the plant and keeping it cool. Think of it like a straw. When you suck on a straw, you create a vacuum that draws the liquid up. Transpiration works in a similar way, with the evaporating water creating the suction force. Section 5. Nutrient uptake, from soil to supper. Plants need more than just sunlight, water, and air to thrive. They also need a variety of nutrients which they get from the soil. Think of these nutrients as vitamins and minerals for plants. These nutrients are absorbed by the roots and transported throughout the plant. They're used for everything from building new cells to fighting off diseases. It's like a delicious and nutritious meal delivered right to their roots. Different nutrients play different roles in plant growth. Nitrogen, for example, is essential for making proteins, which are the building blocks of plant cells. Phosphorus is important for energy transfer and root development. Without these essential nutrients, plants wouldn't be able to grow or survive. It's like trying to bake a cake without flour or sugar. Section 6. Plant hormones, the little messengers that control growth. Plants may not have brains, but they're not mindless automatons either. They have their own way of sensing and responding to their environment, and it all comes down to hormones. Plant hormones are like chemical messengers that travel throughout the plant, telling different parts what to do. They control everything from growth and development to flowering and fruit ripening. It's like having a team of tiny managers making sure everything runs smoothly. Different hormones have different jobs. Auxins, for example, promote cell elongation and play a role in phototropism, which we'll talk about later. Gibberellins stimulate stem elongation and seed germination. Abscisic acid, on the other hand, inhibits growth and helps plants cope with stress. It's a complex symphony of hormones that keeps plants growing, developing, and responding to their environment. Section 7. Plant movements, reaching for the sky. Plants may seem stationary, but they're constantly on the move. They don't just sway in the breeze, they move in response to stimuli like light, gravity, and touch. One type of plant movement is called tropism. This is when a plant grows towards or away from a stimulus. For example, phototropism is when a plant grows towards light, like a sunflower turning to face the sun. Gravitropism is when a plant grows in response to gravity, with roots growing down and shoots growing up. Another type of plant movement is called nastic movement. This is when a plant moves in response to a stimulus, but the direction of movement is independent of the direction of the stimulus. For example, the Venus flytrap closing its trap when an insect touches its trigger hairs is a nastic movement. These movements help plants survive in their environment, allowing them to access resources like light and water, and even defend themselves from predators. Section 8. Water relations, the flow of life. Water is essential for plant life. It's the lifeblood that flows through their veins, transporting nutrients, maintaining turgor pressure, and even cooling them down. But water relations in plants are a bit more complicated than just drinking when you're thirsty. Water moves from an area of high water potential to an area of low water potential. Think of it like a ball rolling down a hill. The top of the hill has high potential energy, and the bottom has low potential energy. Water moves in a similar way from an area of high water concentration to an area of low water concentration. Osmosis is the movement of water across a semi-permeable membrane from a region of high water concentration to a region of low water concentration. This is how plants absorb water through their roots. Turgor pressure is the pressure that water inside the cell exerts on the cell wall. It's what gives plants their rigidity and allows them to stand upright. Think of it like inflating a balloon. The air inside the balloon creates pressure that pushes against the walls, making it firm. Section 9. Plant stress responses. Tough plants. Life can be tough, even for plants. They face a variety of challenges, from scorching heat and freezing cold to pests and diseases. But plants are survivors, and they've evolved a variety of ways to cope with stress. Biotic stress comes from living organisms like insects, bacteria, and fungi. Plants have developed a variety of defense mechanisms to protect themselves from these attackers. They can produce toxins, grow thorns, or even release chemicals that attract beneficial insects to fight off pests. Abiotic stress comes from non-living factors like extreme temperatures, drought, and salinity. Plants can respond to these stresses by altering their growth, closing their stomata to conserve water, or producing protective compounds. It's like plants have their own suit of armor, ready to protect themselves from whatever life throws their way. Section 10. Conclusion: why understanding plants matters. So there you have it, a whirlwind tour through the amazing world of plant physiology. We've covered a lot of ground, from photosynthesis and respiration to transpiration and nutrient uptake. But why does any of this matter? Why should we care about how plants work? Understanding plant physiology is crucial for a variety of reasons. It helps us develop more efficient crops, combat plant diseases, and even mitigate the effects of climate change. Plants are essential for life on Earth, providing us with food, oxygen, and even medicine. By understanding how plants work, we can ensure that they continue to thrive and provide for us for generations to come. So next time you see a plant, take a moment to appreciate the complex and fascinating processes happening inside.